So everybody dreams about going and finding a piece of land, having a house built for them, and then them moving in, and it's that simple. The thing is, when you're signing an agreement to buy a new home from a builder, it's a little bit different than the new construction agreement, and there's a few things you need to know before you get under contract with one to protect yourself. So the first thing you need to know about buying a home that is not done yet is that there's more dates to manage in the agreement. When you're under contract for a normal home, you're usually just working with the inspection date, the mortgage commitment date, and then your settlement date. That's it. When you're buying a new home and it's still being built, you need to list out all the different timelines. So your start date of construction, the end date of construction, your settlement date, and then your drop dead settlement deadline. All of these dates mean something. They're to protect the buyer and the seller. The buyer needs to stay under contract until that drop dead date to give the builder enough time to finish in the event that something happens and construction is 1, 2, 3 months behind. So make sure you list these dates out up front and be really conservative because construction always runs late. It's never on time. I've never sold a house that was actually completed and finished on time. So the second thing to keep in mind is that in most cases, at least in Pennsylvania, when you're buying a new home, there is no home inspection contingency. The buyer is allowed to do a home inspection after construction is complete, make sure everything is finished, make sure it's done right, and then they get with the builder and make a punch list that needs to be done within a certain amount of days. By the way, this paragraph survives closing, which means that even after you close, the builder is still tied to it. But you need to remember that this is not a contingency on the agreement. This means that say you're buying a house and you're 6 months out from settlement. You can't be under contract that whole time. The builder does all these finishes for you, for example, and then you just do an inspection and there's one little thing wrong and you say, hey, I want out, and you're able to get away scot-free. That's why the construction agreement is drafted the way it is. It's to be fair to both parties. The buyer's allowed to do the inspections. The builder needs to do what they need to do to make sure everything is remedied, but the buyer can't just back out because of an issue on the inspection. Very important difference that's often not explained to buyers, and they don't even know that going in the process. So keep this in mind. So the third thing to keep in mind when buying a new home is that builders are often allowed to make substitutions for materials when they either run out of stock or they're not available for some other reason. This happens a lot. A builder might buy a whole huge quantity of a particular wood or vinyl floor. They might stack it in one of their houses, use it for houses 1 through 5, and say they're building 10, and for the last 5 houses they go back to the supplier. The supplier says, hey, we don't have that anymore, and it was your particular shade that you really wanted in your living room. So just know that most agreements have language where the builder is allowed to substitute for something that's of similar or higher quality. So don't get stuck up on any particular finish, whether it's a flooring, a vanity, a particular shade of paint. Just know that sometimes things run out of stock and your house may look a little bit different, but the quality should still be the same. And you're not allowed to just terminate the agreement just because your shade of flooring is a little bit lighter or darker brown than you thought it was going to be. Very important to keep in mind because often this paragraph is also very overlooked, and then they walk in after the flooring's done, they're doing their final inspection, and it's not the flooring you want, and you want to back out, but you're not allowed to in a lot of the cases. So don't forget this, keep these things in mind. There's a lot more to know about buying a new house, but these are 3 of the most important ones. Make sure you don't get into any hairy situations that you could have avoided the next time you're buying a new home.